Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. We are joined today once again by my good friend Chris Holt, otherwise known as Beyond the Tats on all of his social platforms. And he is a nutritional and wellness coach. And this is the third time that Chris has been on. And we decided to have a little kind of a life catch up. There's been a lot of changes for both of us over the last few months. And we also touch base regularly over some client work. So mine is more life coaching and therapy, and he is more nutrition, wellness, fitness. But there's obviously overlapping themes that we both see. And so sometimes I will check in with him about health and nutrition stuff, and then he'll check in with me about wellness, like, is this good ethics? Is this not? So we've seen some recurring things. So we thought we would kind of do a little back to basics, cover some basic territory, and do some life catch ups. So welcome today, Chris. How are you?
Doing well. Settled back here in Salt Lake City, so that's good. But yeah, we're definitely, I guess, in very big transitional periods in our lives.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're in Salt Lake City this time. And I believe the last time I talked to you, you were in,
let's see, Knoxville.
yeah, Knoxville, Tennessee. So
Yes. So I moved out there for a relationship and engagement, and that did not work out.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's look, I believe things happen for a reason to some degree. So, but it was for me, I wouldn't have known any of those things unless I moved out there. So like it had to happen the way it did. But a lot of takeaways for me, and which the two silver linings from the entire relationship is it stopped me from continuing to drink alcohol, and it got me back into therapy. So I think that those are two wins.
Yeah.
But ending a relationship or getting out of one is never fun. But I think that there are reoccurring things that I do in terms of the people I choose, and that was telling in this last relationship. I'm like, holy smokes, the last three people I've been with have all kind of had similar issues,
Mm.
and it's not their fault per se. It's me choosing people with those issues.
Yeah,
So
and I said this actually recently that there's a real marking point that I see with clients when as a therapist where they come to therapy and they're like, "Oh my God, why is this happening?" and they want to work through stuff. And when eventually it gets to a point where they've kind of realized they can see in front of them that there is a pattern and that perhaps they are not so much always the victim, but they hit a point, and some people don't want to see it, so they might then step away from therapy for a while. But others are like an acknowledgement of the role that they play in their
exactly.
own suffering. And I
Yeah.
think that's a real mark of maturity. And when people hit that and they can see it and they acknowledge it, it's like they've graduated to the next level of therapy.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing is I've always taken the stance that things happen for me, not to me. So, that like I said, if that relationship got me to stop drinking alcohol and to get back into therapy, I think it's a net positive.
Yeah.
Um, Despite the expense of moving cross country back to back in the span of 3 months.
Hmm.
But back here in Salt Lake, super happy, back into a routine. Um, but
Awesome building as well.
yes, this building is nice. This is
Yeah.
super
Yeah,
good. A
you've
lot
got
of
all the
amenities.
things.
Yeah, yeah. But uh, but yeah, I mean, moving to a completely different country. So
Yeah, so I touched on it a few weeks ago, but basically I left the UK at the end of July and I am slowly taking the steps to have my business be an EU based business because the UK obviously decided to leave the EU. So it's this little isolated place in Europe now, and I want to have the connections of the rest of Europe. So I'm in the process of starting to set up my limited company, and I want to do that in the EU. So I took my stuff out of the UK, and a bunch of it is now in Dublin. And I've started slowly the process of moving myself to Ireland for, yeah, indefinitely, but I think it will be for a few years. And or at least my base will be in Ireland. And I will form my limited company there. Might not be forever. I do feel that I'll probably be on continental Europe at some point, or I'll be splitting my time between the two. I do have to say it was a very smart choice over the summer because Europe and much of the world, everywhere is experiencing climate change. But this summer was blazing hot in Southern Europe. And Ireland, which is not known for its wonderful weather, had wonderful weather when I was there. So I experienced like peak summer there. It was really beautiful. And now I'm visiting family in the US. So I'll be here until October, and I've got a wedding and a few things, and then I'll be back in Ireland. Yeah, so I'm actually, if anyone's looking, I am seeking more Irish clients actually, because still the bulk of my clients are in the UK. So I'm actively seeking a client group in Ireland and the rest of Europe. So if anyone's looking, you know where to find
Well,
me.
I'm sure you're going to build that up pretty quickly.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so mine was by choice, but I was kind of like smacked down a few times in the last year, like with personal rock bottoms. And your situation now, where you've moved and you're back in Salt Lake and it's lovely, was kind of the result of a couple, rock bottomy kind of experiences. Redirected you though, makes you kind of refocus on yourself.
Yeah,
And
it made me realize how powerful like energy is. And I know that sounds kind of foo-fooey, but
yeah,
I think the energy that I feel and I exude now, I can see a direct correlation in, you know, even the content I produce, getting new clients, building my business. I had one client tell me, I stayed with her in Colorado when I was driving through, and she said, I didn't want to say anything, but the past year, your content has kind of been a little off. I'm like, what? She's like,
mm,
I just know you because I worked with you for so long. And I said to my partner, like, something's wrong with Chris, but I don't know how to bring it up. And I'm like, you could sense that? She's like, yeah. I was like, whoa. So that was telling. But
yeah,
it really is, it's night and day. Like, as soon as I decided to move back here, my online business was struggling in 2025 and when it's never struggled before. And then as soon as I decided to move, everything went back to where I want it to be. And actually, this month was my highest grossing month in 3 years. So,
wow, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Congratulations.
it's a little
Yeah,
crazy.
the change in energy, it's like clearing out space, removing what doesn't serve you, all of that, which they talk about in every like
Yeah,
astrology and human design, and but also in therapy and coaching and everything. It's like, what's not serving me right now? We need to remove it to allow better things to come in. And you weren't in the right environment when you moved out there. It wasn't right for you. And now you're being held in a new place. And I think also stretched a bit because when you arrived, you were like, oh, God, I don't know. This place is really nice. Like, this might be, more than my budget. But look at what happened. It's like having faith in yourself, and you pick a place and then your budget expanded.
yeah, um, yeah. And honestly, this place is cheaper than the place that we were we had rented in Knoxville. Granted, we was being
Really?
split by two people,
Yeah.
but um, this apartment is actually $1,000 cheaper than my last apartment in Salt Lake before I moved to Tennessee, and
Wow.
last apartment had no amenities. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. So Yeah, but it just everything kind of just fell into place, and it was the first time in my life also where I just noticed things falling into place. And I'm like, whoa, I was stressed about finding an apartment, found this place pretty quick. Whoa, I was stressed about the movers and all these things, and then obviously building my business and everything just kept on trickling in the right direction. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think when you're taking like the steps that you're supposed to take towards, what you're supposed to be doing, if it's right for you, then things just like fall into your path and you are so easily supported. The stress that I experienced around leaving London was so intense, and then it was like I felt like I had angels carry me to Ireland. It was insane. I was so stressed about money, and so much money just came out of nowhere to me from so many different places. Like I had gifts from people. I like all of a sudden clients came out of nowhere, and I have not had the time or the capacity to do a lot on the marketing side of things. Like I haven't posted on my like Instagram grid in a while. I haven't been focusing on growing that audience. I haven't been doing any of that. And people are emailing me. It's been like word of mouth. Someone found my website. People are just like, hey, do you have availability? And I'm like, I'm not even doing anything right now.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And as soon as I even give it a little bit more oomph and love, like people are going to just keep finding me. So
Yeah, it's really, when you hear that kind of adage, you want to put those things out in the universe and manifest and all these things. And, 10 years ago, I've been like, that makes no sense. That's stupid. And now I'm like, no, it really, for me anyway, I've noticed it's a kind of a thing.
it's like a science for me. It
Yeah.
is, if you do these things, you will get positive results.
Yeah.
For me, it's fact now. Like I've done it so many times, like tried and tested, that I know that these things work. And this is stuff that I've started doing with clients. I've started to also make a bit of a shift from just focusing on therapy. And I still have my therapy clients. I love them and I will continue to work with them. But I'm going to work with fewer therapy clients at a time and take on more coaching clients because I get so much joy from
Yeah.
the coaching. And I really am very solution focused and action oriented. And you can't really, give homework so much on the therapy side of, I mean, you can, but like I like to get more coachy with my clients, and I also have a coaching qualification, so I've upped the coaching recently and I'm loving it.
Yeah. I think that, based on your background, it's almost like a nice segue into that part, right? Because you could just do therapy and that's great. And like you said, you can give people homework, but any past therapist that's given me homework, I've never done.
Yeah.
So, talking about more lifestyle things, I think resonates a little more.
Yeah. And on to that, so some of the things Chris and I spoke earlier in the week, and we had an in-depth discussion about things that were coming up that we've both seen a lot of. And so I kind of want to touch on, I guess like twofold. So one will like I know I've emphasized it in so many of my previous episodes, but the back to basics wellness pillars, which everyone should do. It doesn't like everyone from all walks of life should tick these five things every single day. Make sure that you're doing them. So one is sleep, get enough sleep. Two is diet. Three is exercise. I say diet and exercise are probably equally important. Um, Community and connection is the fourth pillar. So, and that's not necessarily going out all the time because I saw a lot of that, especially with my London based clients. London's very social and like that can lead to burnout. So, like leaving drinks, so and so's birthday thing, engagement party, baby shower, like that's not necessarily the kind of connection that we want to be seeking. It needs to be like high quality, nourishing, fill up your cup kind of connection, like with your best friend, something really nourishing. Um, and then nature and sunlight, really important. And in the winter, I really, really hone in on this with my clients in Europe. When it gets dark at like 3:45 and it doesn't get light till like almost 9 a.m., you have to make the most of your lunch hour and get outside for 30 to 45 minutes to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are foundational things, and I think the problem with those foundational things with them, they're not sexy, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's not. That's essentially how Liver King became famous. He took non-sexy things that I still believe in, and he just radicalized them and made them extreme. Right? So, but yeah, to go down that list, I mean, foundation is sleep. And some of my clients are like, well, like why sleep? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, I can just function off of little sleep. I'm like, yeah, you can do that, but it's not great, and I
And
always,
it's not sustainable either.
not sustainable. But I use the example of the Guinness Book of World Records. They stopped sleep deprivation as a challenge because I want to say 3 or 4 people that went maybe 7 days or
Oh my
six
God,
days,
7 days. Oh
but
my,
all of them, 100% of them, and they don't know why, they all died. So it's like, yeah,
wow, I've never heard that. Really?
sleep is, I tell people this, poor sleep will send you to an early grave before poor food,
Hmm.
100%. And
Well, and poor sleep, that's why I say it's the most important of the pillars, because if you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to make poor choices with all of those. Like you're too tired to exercise, you want shitty food, you're going to reach for sugar for energy. You're going to be really grumpy, so you're going to be useless with the community and connection and nature, sunlight, like whatever. Won't even like if you haven't slept, like you just need to sleep.
well, look, anyone that does an all-nighter, we all understand what that feels like the next day. You almost feel delirious. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I just don't feel good. And the thing with sleep also, if you struggle with mental illness, it's only going to make those things worse, right? So, if that's going to be your reason, your why, it's like, well, I struggle with anxiety, depression. If I don't sleep, those things are going to get worse. So maybe I should really focus on something that's zero cost to me before I, again, take a pharmaceutical route, which again, I'm all for as a last ditch effort. Let's try to utilize and exhaust holistic resources first and options
Hmm.
before we just take something quick. And when it comes to men and women, unfortunately, women are going to need more sleep. That's just how it is.
Yeah, do you know the numbers behind that? Like I think I've heard on like wellness podcasts and stuff that women need 8 to 9 hours and men can men do 6? What's the optimal for men?
I'd say minimum 7
Okay.
for everyone. Women, I would even argue 9 to 10,
Yeah, I mean,
depending.
I'm more 8 to 9.
Yeah. But if you can get 8 to 9 as a woman, a mother, someone that might be working, like you are doing great, right? And I think that the problem is people think, oh, it's just like it's sleep. It's like, no, there are so many things you could be doing every single day to set yourself up for better sleep. And that's this whole idea of sleep hygiene. So a
Hmm.
lot of the studies show routine is key. You got to be going to sleep and waking up roughly at the same times. And sometimes that's difficult for people to have shift work or, on call jobs or whatever. We can work through those things. But ultimately, do your best to try to go to sleep and wake up at roughly the same times. Um, Early morning sun exposure that can help with your circadian rhythm. Cold water, cold exposure can help. No caffeine past 1 p.m. Um,
Ooh.
Wear blue light blocking glasses after dusk if you're
Yep.
looking at screens. Um, Last meal, preferably 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. You don't want to be eating too close to bed. And then sleep in a cold, dark room if you need to get a device that cools your mattress, because a lot of the women I work with are going through menopause and
Mm,
hot flashes are a thing, right? So that's why
that's
they don't,
cool.
yeah, they don't have good sleep. So there are lots of companies out there. 8 sleep is my favorite, but it's a massive investment. It's very expensive. But
Okay.
they have other ones that I saw one for like $500, and it's literally this vent that you put into your under your covers, and it just cools your entire mattress, and it's like $500. So there's lots of different versions of it, but sleeping in a colder temperature, you will sleep more soundly. You
Yeah.
won't wake up. Uh,
Yeah,
so
now
sleeping.
that I'm back in the world or the land of air conditioning,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've jacked that up before I go to sleep and it really helps.
It totally helps.
Yeah.
Why do you think Scandinavian countries have their babies sleep out in the cold, right? With their faces exposed to the cold. That I mean, it's good for you, right? And then I always say sleep in eye mask if you can. If you can't get blackout curtains, and if you need to use a white noise machine, cool. But those are things that you can be doing every single day. Obviously, adding on movement, which can help with that. But just the basics of those things, if you can prioritize those things every day and do them consistently, the chances of you having better sleep are going to be, increased. But again, there are some people that ruminate and doom scroll, and then like it's like a whole thing. So, we can add on top of that, no phone after a certain period of time.
Yeah, I would say like pillar number six, substance abuse and like we can just say addiction. This can count as that
Oh,
because people
100%.
are so addicted to their phones. It's
I,
ridiculous. Like,
I'm addicted to my phone. Like I get it. But the blue light blocking glasses really have helped. And for me, I make it a point to wear them after dusk, because I know I'm going to be watching shows and be looking at my phone. So I at least don't want my brain thinking, "Oh, it's daylight and I'm really awake." And I have actually noticed a difference after years of doing this when I don't wear them and when I do wear them. And even if it's a small improvement, that's those things over time lead to bigger things. So,
yeah. I think also, and this is gonna steer the conversation slightly as we touch on diet and exercise. Again, back to basics, but people going to you, and I know when people come to therapy, a lot of the times they're like I've had people that have been like, okay, this is what I'm experiencing. This is my timeline. Let's just talk about the things and when will I be feeling better? Like, okay, come on, let's make a plan and then I want to be feeling better by this time. And it's like,
problem with that mentality is that they're not factoring in the reality that it boils down to consistency.
mhm,
So yeah, we can get you to that place, but you have to be consistent. And then when you're not consistent and then you don't get to that place and then you do the blame game and there's no
yeah.
ownership, that's the problem. But even people that come to me that want to build muscle, sleep. If you're not sleeping enough, you're losing your gains, right? So it goes both ways. Um,
I think consistency is a really big one. It's something I've had to implement into my contracting because yeah, look, it doesn't things don't work if you just do them sporadically. And I think that applies to exercise and your mental health is every bit as important as your physical health and they're if anything they're the same, they're connected. And you can't just randomly go to therapy or randomly go to the gym and expect to see results.
saying, "Hey, Chris, I did 100 sit-ups. Why don't I have abs?" I'm like, "Well, that's not how that works." But what I hear most is, um, it's a lot of, it's ultimately just excuses, right?
Mm,
I'm waiting to be motivated. I'm not 100% in it. And I said, well, it's not about being 100% mentally in it, right? And if you're waiting for motivation, you're going to be waiting for it. So I really just despise content that is all about, motivation, get motivated, the whole Jocko mindset, right? And
mhm.
I tell my clients it's not about motivation, it's about doing the thing regardless how you feel about it. And that's a skill. So if you don't
But
want to
also,
exercise,
once you start doing the thing regularly and you start to see a difference, that is the motivation.
I would argue and say that that's not how it works for me. I rarely want to work out, and it's
Really?
something. Yeah, it's a challenge for me to do it every day,
Hmm.
but I've gotten to a point where, like even today, I was gonna leave 1/3 through my workout, and then I was like, oh, I'll just do half of it. And then when I got to, I'm like, ah, don't be a little bitch. Like you did half of it, you might as well do the other half. And then I mean, the whole time I didn't want to be there. Not at not one point where I was like, okay, now I'm feeling it. Let's do this. It wasn't until I left the gym that I'm like, oh gosh, I'm really glad that that's over. But those are the standards I've set for myself. I'm gonna do the thing regardless if I feel about it, because that's more challenging. And I say this to all my clients, and this is really just taken from Hermosi, is that when you overcome a challenge because they're meant to be overcome, that's what challenges are.
Mm-hmm.
That's equivalent to slaying a dragon. Now we have empirical evidence that you can slay dragons, and guess what? There are going to be many more dragons in your future. So it's the perspective. Do I want to be a dragon slayer, or do I want to just be a victim and like, meh? It's like, okay, well, it's easier to not do the thing. So choose to do the more challenging. Then people look at me and they're like, whoa, life must get easier, right? Like it just everything must come easy now because you're so. I'm like, no, life only gets harder. I don't
Yeah.
know what reality you live in. I'm not unique. I'm not, special. The difference between me and most people is that I actively and obsessively seek to do difficult things all the time, whether
Mm-hmm.
they're big or small things. So my threshold for difficult and challenging
Continues to
higher,
grow.
yeah,
Yeah.
higher than yours. So I tell my clients, look, it's easy to say, well, I'm going to create a new lifestyle for you. And I've started to really kind of despise that phrase
Mm.
because it's just a buzzword. Like, what does that even mean, right? So I tell my clients what we're doing is we're creating new standards for yourself. And if these are your new standards, why would you go below your own standards? What does that say about you as a person? And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, this is my new standard.
You know
And
what? That is a good comparison with that is dating.
yes, yes,
Something you and I are,
yes.
in
So my
place
standards
now.
maybe have been somewhere, and now I'm raising my standards. So
Yeah, and you experience some negative things or things that, are like, "Ooh, God, like I can't believe I used to tolerate that," you know?
yeah,
Like probably when we were much younger and you have no idea when you first start, you have no idea like what
not
feels
what
good
you
and
don't
what
know.
feels bad, the
Yeah.
way people treat you, what's nice, what's mean, whatever. And you have to experience these things. And then when you're like, wow, that really sucks, you soon have a list of things that you'll never ever do that again, and it should also apply to like diet and exercise, like, and like not getting enough sleep and like eating really shitty food or drinking too much or partying too hard. Like certain things become no-nos.
Yeah, and what I work with my clients a lot on is the words, right? The things we tell ourselves, a story you tell yourself, right? Because, I have a client who's going through some personal things and she's just bringing up all these things that are involving an ex that she has no control over. We can't control what people say or do, right? Yet that person's actions and words were then causing her to want to derail and self-sabotage. And I said, look, you can't control that. And from my perspective, if you're going to allow that person to say or do something that's going to cause you to just say, ah, fuck it, I'm just going to eat whatever and I am just going to not work out or whatever, then that person owns you. And
Yeah.
in my life, I don't want anyone owning me or controlling me. So, think about, just zoom out for a second, right? And I think too often it's so easy to focus on those negative things because that's inherently how we are designed as human beings. Threats, right? Run away from danger, those types of things. And it's much harder for people to think about good things in their lives, but it's so easy to list all the slights and the frustrations and the little, micro things that happen every day.
And to take it out on someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
From in therapy, that touches on the object relations theory, which is good object and bad object. And like, we don't want to sort of, if you don't want to take ownership of the situation, right? So, like, your client gets triggered, by ex partner and then derails all good habits and blames it on the ex,
Hmm.
the X becomes the bad object.
Yeah.
And oftentimes what people, before people have the knowledge to like pause and self-reflect, it's very common that people will all, it'll be your boss, it'll be your sibling, it'll be a parent. Well,
Yeah.
they said this, and then they become the bad object.
Look, I'd like to say that I've never experienced racism in my life, but I've experienced a lot of it. And in the beginning, it was a lot of anger. And, it was moments where I should have said something or I should have stood up for myself or whatever. But at the end of the day, I cannot control what that person's going to say or do to me. All I can control is how I react and how I let things affect me. So, you know, over the years, I still experience it from time to time, but I just have learned to like let it go. Just like we said, observe the emotion and just let it go, run off and, you know, bother someone else. So, but it's always a work in progress. And I think that is the biggest challenge for most people is psychology behind all of this stuff because we are all going to choose the path of least resistance
Hmm.
when it comes to coping with stressors. What's going to be a quick dopamine hit? What's going to be just comforting in the moment? What's going to be, something quick, fast? But with my clients, I encourage them and challenge them every day to, again, look at the choices because there's always a choice and choose the ones more challenging. Um, and it's a lifetime practice, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not about being perfect, but out of 10 times you get triggered by something, you don't fall into old patterns 6 times out of 10. That's still a win, right? But it's just constantly working towards that. And then just showing people that, hey, look, we have evidence. Remember that one time that X, Y, and Z happened, and then you chose that, and then remember how that worked out? So we have evidence. You can do it. It's possible, but you need to choose that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And it's also like with therapy, also versus coaching, you can have all of the psychoeducation, right? Like we can talk about it in session, you can self reflect, you can know why you do or don't do the thing that you should do, or like what happened that was wrong. But it's the choosing to behave differently that's kind of down to you. And that's also, I would argue that that's one of the reasons why I'm leaning a bit more towards coaching because
yeah.
it's a bit more, I can sort of tell you, do this. And in therapy, it's like, well, what do you think is best?
People come to me and they're like, I know what to do, I just don't do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, because there's underlining issues as to why that's happening, right? And that's what it's about. It's about addressing those things in real time, as difficult, painful, challenging as they are. But those are the reasons why most people are not where they want to be, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always something that comes up. Life is going to throw you curveballs. But if your reaction is to always self soothe through food, alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, nothing changes if nothing changes.
And to make excuses and to always have a bad object,
Oh,
right?
it's wild how many excuses I hear.
Mm,
And the problem is no one
me
wants to be
too.
called out. Yeah, no one wants to be called out. And then when I call them out, then they come up with another excuse as to why, to justify their position.
Yeah.
And then then it gets to that point where I'm like, look, then I'd rather you just say you don't want the goals that you told me you want, because clearly you're not willing to do the things that are going to get you there, and that's okay. No judgment, but stop lying to yourself. Don't tell me a
Yeah.
lie. You can talk a big game, but if you're not willing to put in the work and do the work, which again is stepping you outside your comfort zone, then you know what? Be a lemming like everyone else, and I'm okay with that. Just don't waste my time. And the
Yeah.
problem is that people don't want to hear that.
No, they don't. But I've seen it so often in the therapy room, when people start sort of no showing or last minute cancellation, like over and over, or scheduling conflicts all the time. It's like, if you're not in a time or place where you really want to prioritize feeling better, that's okay. But like you're not ready to be here then, you know?
Yeah, there's
And I
nothing
see
wrong
such
with
a
it.
difference with the people that show up every week. Like they never ever miss it. And if there is a scheduling conflict, they email me, we find a new time, we make it work every week, even if I have to change things around or they change things around, but they never miss a session. And I've seen such big changes in their lives, and it's amazing because they want to show up and like own their shit every week. And the people that don't, you can see that too.
Yeah, and like I said, zero judgment. Just don't waste other people's time,
Yeah.
you know, and don't tell yourself this story, right? That you want these things because clearly you don't, because you're not willing to change. And again, zero judgment, but just go waste someone else's time, right?
Mm,
But that's also going back to this idea of time. People think I have time. I'm like, no, it's finite. We're losing it every second. You
yeah.
don't have time, so you can create that fallacy in your head and convince yourself you'll start next month, you'll start Monday. I'll start when it's a better time. There's never a good time to start, making change. Um, and that's also another thing I see a lot of people do to stop from starting right away with me. They're like, well, I got to get through this trip and I got to get through this thing. And then
Yeah.
and I'm like, are those things going away? No. Well, then we start now, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be a thing.
Yeah. And people are like, well, I was doing so well when things weren't stressful. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. But the real work happens when things are not going your way, you know? But it's building, again, it's just the grit. It's the mental fortitude. You just need to, it's repetition. You need to expose yourself to it more so you can build a callus towards that. But the problem is people don't like being uncomfortable. People just want easy. They want quick fixes. They want things yesterday. So unfortunately, you know, those are the people that are always going to yo-yo or
Mm.
never get to where they want.
Which brings me to, so there was exercise and diet, but the big hot topic now, which I have seen, I've it's come up with like in several sessions that I've had, discussions about it and people wanting my professional opinion. And I'm not, a doctor, so I can't advise for or against. But I think as much information as possible, to provide people with all the information. What are your thoughts on GLP-1s, Ozempic, and there's literally so many different variations of it. I can't even keep track. I know in the UK, at least when I was leaving, it was becoming a lot more mainstream, and I uh, got to the point where I know a number of people that are trying it, dabbling with it, some having results, some not liking it. And then obviously it's been a huge craze in the US for a while. But I do think because of the healthcare system in the US, the costs are prohibitively high in the US compared to what my knowledge of what people were paying for it in the UK. So,
Yeah, so GLP-1s, I think there's a very small percentage of people that probably require them, but that's a very small percentage. Uh,
can you explain what GLP-1 is? Do you know?
so, I can't go into like technical things about GLP-1, but basically it originally started for people that were diabetics, that had blood sugar issues. Because obviously, especially if you're type 2 diabetic, that's just a lifestyle disease. So it's getting people to just not eat, right? Overeat. Because
Isn't like GLP or GLP-1 aren't isn't it like a natural?
it's a naturally occurring thing in our body
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Like most of these drugs are, right?
Yeah.
But again, it was meant for something else, right?
Okay.
And like I said, there are some people that are morbidly obese, and if you need to take something to suppress your appetite so you just don't shove things in your mouth, I'm all for it if you're 300, 400 pounds, and that's critical, right? But when you see women, I need to lose 20 pounds. I'm just going to go on Ozempic. There was a $2 billion lawsuit against a manufacturer of Ozempic right now, and I think there was like
Really?
1,800 people filed this lawsuit. I mean, they were like hurt in ways that range in a variety of side effects. Um, and so my thing with GLP-1s is like, look, like I said, pharmaceutical intervention, there's a time and place for it for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't think it should be plan A. And the problem in this country is that physicians are heavily incentivized to prescribe these drugs. And they don't go over what's actually happening. Because the weight loss isn't fat loss, it's muscle loss.
Okay.
And anyone knows your skeletal muscle mass is your biggest lever towards metabolic health,
Yeah.
but also lifespan. So we see this in elderly people and cancer patients. You lose muscle, you're done. You're out the door. So in the second half of life, you want to go into your second half of life, which is anything past 40, because average age 80 if you're lucky. You want more skeletal muscle mass because that will ensure a longer life. But also with blood sugar, right? Like if you have more muscle, you're going to metabolically be probably in a better place than someone that has less muscle.
Okay.
And the problem is that, you know, people think, oh, I'll take this, I'll lose the weight. But I'm like, okay, let's just dumb it down. What is it doing? Suppressing your appetite. What happens if you go off of it? It's not rocket science. So, very small number of people that do a GLP-1, focus on movement, focus on nutrition, they can maintain the weight loss going off of it. But that is literally like 1%. Everyone
He
else,
works with a lot of people
I would
on it.
say 40% of my clients either have taken it, are on it, and weaning themselves off.
Wow, that's a high percentage.
Yeah. And
Okay.
a lot of them, I had one woman that I worked with. She's like, I'm just sick every day. And I'm like, do you think it's from the GLP-1? She's like, yes, but I'm losing the weight, but I just feel sick. And I was like, uh, I think you should think about that for a second.
I wouldn't
You
be able
know?
to do that for a long, very long.
Yeah. So I just say, look, you go off of it, you're going to gain all the weight back because you haven't addressed the issue,
Hmm.
right? Putting a band-aid over it, suppressing your appetite works for a little bit. But we also do not know the long-term effects on human beings taking these things for a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme of things, it's still fairly new. So that's my issue with it. And I think a lot of people get upset when I post about it because it's like their silver bullet. They don't, then like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to defend it. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, this country, the United States, is a for-profit system. They want to keep people sick. And physicians are heavily incentivized and getting lots of payback in terms of monetary compensation to prescribe these drugs. And so that is also, it's a fact, physicians in this country are not trained in nutrition or lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And my older brother is a chief resident, professor at Yale University, Ivy League doctor, primary care physician, specializes actually in addiction. But he's the first one to tell you I am not trained to talk to my patients about changing their lifestyle, which is a very sad statement to come from a physician.
One of my dear friends, she's a surgeon, went to USC. She's brilliant. She's actually going to be a guest
Oh, cool.
soon. Yeah, because I haven't had anyone from the medical, like a real doctor, because that's a whole other industry.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
she's gonna give us the skeletons in the closet of the medical industry, which is a
It
big
is.
one. But she said, like, when she was doing her residency and like when she was in medical school, she was like, the most unhealthy people you will meet are doctors. They get
Doctors,
like no sleep, they like smoke, they drink way too much, they're all addicted to caffeine. It's awful. They have like heart attacks when they're like 40,
yes,
50.
yes.
Yeah.
And I just think that, unfortunately, I mean, a lot of my clients that are losing all this weight, forget about the weight, but their blood panels are bad, right? And all their physicians say, one client told me, oh, my doctor asked me if I was taking a GLP-1 because of my weight loss. And I'm like, that's really sad. And then another client said, oh, my physician is just kind of shocked that my blood panels are where they're at by just changing the things that we've changed. And I'm like, yeah, what did they want you on? And they're like, well, they wanted me on a GLP-1. I'm like, well, of course, like it's not
Hmm.
it's not rocket science, right? So like I said, I'm not against them for some people, but that's a very small percentage of people. If you're a woman that's just trying to lose 20 or 30 pounds, look, you don't fall into that category. And a lot of people don't want to hear that.
I also, when we touched on this in our one-on-one conversation that we had earlier in the week, and I think I commented on, hitting 40 and
Oh, yeah, your
because we
metabolism.
were we were looking at intermittent fasting, right?
Yes,
Which is a
yes.
tool that I used a lot in my 30s and was very effective for me. I did pretty extreme versions of it, and I also like the in my windows where I wasn't fasting when I was eating, I was like I mentally told myself I can eat and drink whatever I want. So there would be like there was a lot of like not I've never been a binge eater, but I would like drink loads in those windows, party really hard, eat not super nourishing food, and then starve myself for a couple days, and it really worked. Which
But but the
but
problem
then
is,
around late 30s, early 40s, suddenly it didn't work anymore. And I was
okay,
like, why isn't this working?
well, what you're describing is actually not intermittent fasting. It's just an eating disorder.
Yeah.
That's what that is, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem with intermittent fasting. I think a lot of people mask eating disorders
Mhm.
as IF. And it's like, no, that's not, no, 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 no. If you're starving yourself essentially and then justifying just going ham on things because, oh, I haven't had calories, I just need calories, that's an eating disorder, right? So, um, and we talked about this, but intermittent fasting can be effective, right? But for women, it's way more nuanced because your cycle is 28 days, guys'
Yeah.
cycle is 24 hours. So a guy could probably do really well with doing time restricted eating and just having a smaller eating window. But for women, the week, 2 weeks before your cycle, that's the last time you want to be starving yourself of calories, right?
Yeah, there's really only like 1 or 2 weeks a
Yes.
month where I think it's still okay to do any kind of even slightly extreme fasting. And but you commented to me because I was saying,
Oh, because in your 40s.
yeah, I was like, well, but once I turned 40, it didn't work anymore. And you were like, no, but that's not because of your metabolism slowing down. It was probably a result of you fucked up your hormones.
Yes, it's
From doing
hormone
that.
balance really
Yeah.
because metabolism metabolism doesn't slow down until 60. And even when it does,
Yeah,
it's
metabolism doesn't slow down until 60. I want everyone to hear that because the amount of things that feed that into you that, oh, when as you start to get older, your metabolism slows down.
40s. Yeah, no.
That's
So
not true. It's
what
that you're
actually is happening,
metabolically imbalanced.
yes,
Yeah.
what's actually happening in people's 40s are more stress, less sleep, less movement. For a lot of people, kid stress,
Hmm.
right?
Which
Those are
is
the
lack of
reasons.
sleep
Lack of sleep. Those are the reasons why people gain weight in their 40s,
and
not because,
and like booze. I think
oh, alcohol for sure.
alcohol, diet, lack of sleep, kids.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, again, it's things that require just consistency and it's not going to change overnight. But, you know, if you want something that's going to give you results that have like literally no negative side effects, you know, do those 5 pillars. But if you want to take a drug, there are trade offs. If you're okay with those trade offs, again, zero judgment. But don't fool yourself into thinking you're losing fat, you're losing muscle. And
Or that
that's,
it's a permanent solution. I mean, it could be a permanent
it
solution
could be for some people,
if you
right?
take it forever, but even if you do take it forever, so what I have heard now from people that I know who've done it or who've experienced it is that, like with anything, usually there's a plateau,
Right.
right? And so I know through someone that they've done it, they've gotten taken it to the highest dosage that is available, and they did lose a lot of weight, but now they're not losing any more weight. They still have more weight to lose, and it's not impacting them. Yeah, they've just completely plateaued,
Yeah.
basically.
And, you know, it's, it's just unfortunate because I think um, people the whole thing with people getting liposuction and then wonder why they've gained it all back. It's like, well, sucking the fat out of you is not going to change what got you to that weight, right? It's like a lot of my clients have gastric bypass procedures done.
Yeah.
So now they're stuck for the rest of their lives eating very small meals, and now they are, by definition, they have to live a snacking lifestyle. And then they wonder why they gain all the weight back after a certain period of time. Is because you created a system where you can just forage and eat, and that's fine, but you're going to overconsume calories. That's how that works.
Would you say gastric bypass is an effective? I don't know
It's,
anyone who's done that.
it, I mean, I would say again, 40% of my clients probably have gastric bypass. And so a lot of
I
them,
don't know anyone in the UK who's done that.
oh, it's
I
big.
think that that's definitely a big American.
Yes. And look, they could lose 100 pounds, great. But then, like, well, I've gained 50 back.
But like,
I
what
don't,
does that do? Like and I think it will be the same with Ozempic.
it just shrinks your
Longevity, like 'cause
stomach. Like,
you're
you can't,
not getting the nutrients that you
yeah,
need. You're not getting enough. You can't have enough calories to consume
it's,
the nutrients that you need.
it's a catch 22, right? Yeah. So they
Yeah.
have to eat 6, 7, 8, 9 meals a day,
Oh
you
my
know?
God.
Yeah, that's a to me anyway, that would be a very stressful life, right? But what I've noticed is all those clients that have had it done, none of them eat balanced meals. It's just, oh, I had some crackers, I had some grapes, I had some turkey slices, I had some cheese, and then it's just this foraging thing, and then they wonder why they're now gaining weight back. It's because, yeah, you're just over consuming calories now. And it's forcing you to do that because you can't eat a full meal. Like, you should see these meals. They're very, I mean, it looks like a rabbit like is going to eat this plate. Like, there's nothing on that plate, but that's all they can literally stomach.
Wow.
So that's a challenge. So getting them to eat balanced meals, those 6, 7, 8, 9 times a day, will increase their calories, but then also getting them away from processed foods and things like that. Um, so it's possible, but again, you put yourself at a disadvantage, in my opinion. But it's always going back to the same idea. I want a quick fix. I just want something extreme to lose this weight. And it's like, well, you've been coping with food, or you've been coping with not eating food, which is just as problematic for some people, under eating, for decades.
Mm.
Like, change those things. It doesn't happen 30, 60, 90 days. We can make a lot of change, but it takes a lot of time to dive deeper, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I started weight training, like properly using weights and like tracking like how heavy it is and I worked with a PT for a little and I got a plan in May of 2024. And I would say it's been really I would say in the last 2 to 3 months, I can like like visibly see a difference. But for the first 6 months, I was like, this doesn't even work. Like I was getting, my muscles would be sore, and I was, I would notice I was like ravenous after the gym, and I'm very obsessive about food, so I always was eating right. But I just felt like my body composition wasn't really changing, and it's only been in the last few months that like I can see in pictures, and I can see in the mirror now that I have like I can see my shoulder definition. Like I'm finally starting to see it. But I was at the point where I was like, I don't think weight training works for me. But I forced myself to stick with it. 2 to 3 times a week, I do weight training now. In
You're going to
terms,
get more, yeah, you're going to get more bang for your buck with weight training and resistance training anyway, because a
yeah.
lot of women that I work with are all cardio junkies. And what that does is excessive cardio is just going to deplete muscle if you're not eating
And it
enough.
messes with your hormones as well. When it's excessive.
Excessive,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, just look at the bodies of a sprinter and look at the bodies of a marathon runner. It's just very stark, right? And
Yeah.
we don't have to go to those extremes, but in the middle, right? I think cardio is important, cardiovascular, zone two cardio, going for a walk, like getting
I
steps
mean,
in
I
when
love cardio. It makes me feel good, but I
I get
can't
it.
run
I've run
every day.
marathons.
I
I
run
love,
like once a week. Yeah.
look, I do some type of cardio in all my workouts for the most part, but they're short distances,
Hmm.
right? I'm not running a 10K. And I used to love running distance. I ran marathons and that
Yeah.
was great. But again, you
It's
look at
not good
pictures
for
of,
your joints. Like I
well, yeah.
anything more than a 10K, like my knees are like, what the hell? Stop it.
Well, people also need to understand it's called a marathon because the first person to do it ran to marathon, 26.2 miles, and he died at the end of it. And again, this was back,
I didn't know that either. I knew
yeah.
that they ran to marathon, but I didn't know he died.
Oh, yeah, he died. So it's just like, I don't think people should be running these distances all the time,
No, me
right?
neither.
And I think it's a great challenge. It's a great bucket list type of thing. Great. Unless you're making money off of running, right? Cool. But I think, like anything, doing things to extremes, there are trade-offs.
Yeah.
And my goal for my clients is to try to find a happy medium amongst all those things. Uh, but weight training is gonna, again, building lean muscle, right? Is you're gonna get more bang for your buck, even for like EPOC. EPOC is calories burned post workout. So, for example, if you walk a mile, you run a mile, you burn the exact same number of calories. So the difference is,
Really?
yes,
Wow.
difference is if you walk a mile, are you going to be recovered after the mile pretty quickly? Yeah. Are you going to be sore from it for the most part? Probably not. If you sprint a mile, how do you feel 2 to 3 days after? Delayed onset muscle soreness. Your body's burning calories post workout. So that's also why CrossFit became so popular because you could increase your EPOC. So you do a 2 minute Fran. It's like, oh, what are you going to do in 2 minutes? You could do a lot in 2 minutes and crush your.
What's a Fran?
So Fran is just a benchmark workout in CrossFit. It's 21, 15, 9. That's the rep scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So the couplet. So you do a thruster, which is a front squat to a push press.
Mm-hmm.
So 21 thrusters, 21 pull-ups. 15 thrusters, 15 pull-ups, 9 thrusters, 9 pull-ups, done. And it's for. So for men's weight, 95 pounds, women's 65, you can scale down from there. But those are the RX weights. And, I told myself the moment I get a sub 3 Fran, I'm never doing that workout ever again. And I did a 253 Fran in 2012, and I've never done Fran ever again. But it took me 2 minutes, 53 seconds to finish that workout. It took me 70 minutes to recover from it after the workout. I was rolling around on the ground. I was in so much pain.
Wow.
But you create,
I've never done CrossFit, but I've been curious. Should I do it?
I think if you can find an affiliate that is very good at scaling
Mm-hmm.
and easing people into it, it's a very effective program. It is.
Yeah.
I think, like anything else, people can take it to the extreme. I've been doing CrossFit for 20 years. I still believe in the methodologies.
Mm-hmm.
But am I going hard in the paint every day? No, I'm not. I'm still doing functional movements, you know.
I mean, I
So
love like circuit training, and
yeah.
whenever I do any kind of a gym or like boot camp style stuff,
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Well,
the high. I
you'll
love
like
that. That's
CrossFit
yeah.
because with CrossFit there's actual, it's really it's more science based, right? It's let's test your power output, you know? Force times distance over time equals power output. So we can physically show you in like Fran, for example, we can show you what your power output is. So let's just say I do Fran. The first time I ever did Fran prescribed at the 95 pounds regular pull-ups, it took me 14 minutes to do the first time I ever did it.
So it'd
But
probably
now,
take me like an hour.
well, we would scale it. So
Okay.
the goal here is to scale it enough where you're finishing within 4 or 5 minutes. So you can really push your intensity, get the most out of that workout, but scaling it up to a point where you're resting most of the time, you're not getting the benefit of the workout.
Hmm.
But let's just say, like I did 14, 15 minutes, probably should have scaled back then. And now I have under 3 minutes. Nothing's changed with the load and the movements. But I can physically show that I'm producing more power and like doing more work in a shorter period of time. So now I can show that I'm physically getting more fit. My capacities are increasing. And that's essentially what CrossFit is about. It's about test, retest. Let's just see where we're at, right? And yeah, of course, you're going to PR a back squat. Sooner or later, you'll not be able to PR back squats. That's okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't back squat, right?
Hmm.
But it's really uh, the program is designed to test those things and kind of focus on 10 domains of fitness. And it's not about being the best at one thing, it's about being mediocre at everything. So it's this idea of what we call GPP, which is general physical preparedness. It's like CrossFit, I will argue, will get you doing what you want to do when you want to do it for as long as you can. That's pretty much the foundation of what CrossFit is.
Okay.
Yes, you can look at the CrossFit Games, you can look at these elite athletes, but that's not why CrossFit was created. That can show the upper echelon of our community and what's possible if you train like a professional athlete. But ultimately, I want you at 75 years old being able to pick up something off the ground, sit down and stand up without assistance, put your groceries on a shelf. That's independent living. So that's essentially what we want.
There's a functional movement chick that she keeps popping up on my ads on Instagram. I'll send her over to you.
Okay.
Um, and tell me what you think because I've almost signed up for that program. It looks, I don't know, it looks like a combo.
Well, there are a lot of people that get trained in CrossFit and then just don't promote CrossFit.
Yeah.
So as long
But
as you're
it's like calisthenics meets CrossFit. And I'm very interested in calisthenics as well because I love the idea because I am very nomadic by nature and I've
Mhm.
lived and, traveled around so much. I like to be able to just take my person outside and
Yeah.
do a workout in the middle of a field with no equipment. And so that's very appealing for me.
Yeah, you can still do that with CrossFit. But yeah, if you can find a program that is just purely body weight workouts, that's also great. I
Yeah.
tell also people, look at gymnasts. They don't really lift weights. They
Yeah.
just lift their body weight and they have the best physiques in the world.
Yeah, like I want to be able to do, like pull-ups and I just do lots of
Yeah.
like push-ups and squats and lunges and
Well, Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man, he was just interviewed and they're like, what's your go-to workout? He says, if I need to get something really done really quickly, he's like, I do the CrossFit workout Cindy, which is 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute AMRAP. You do 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. As many rounds and reps as you can for 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute workout. You can crush yourself in that workout. So, and then
like
he's like,
five
if I'm not
pull-ups.
5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats. So you do 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 50, see how many times you can get in 20 minutes. And I told myself the moment I get 30 rounds of Cindy in 20 minutes, I'm never doing Cindy again. And that was 2013. So I was like, I'm not doing Cindy ever again. But it's a great workout. And if you don't want to do it, you can do there's another workout called
I
Chelsea,
mean, I
which is,
can't even do one pull-up, so but
well, we work towards
I
that.
can
But
do
you
it
can,
with bands if I have
yes,
bands
you can
assisting.
do ring rows, you can do body pulls, you can do all sorts of modified versions. But there's another workout called Chelsea, which is 5, 10, 15 on the minute every minute for 30 minutes. So that is also challenging. Can you get 5 pull ups, 10 push ups, 15 squats done fast enough to give you enough rest time that you can maintain that on the minute for 30 minutes? And so when I told myself if I could get a 40-minute Chelsea, I'm never doing Chelsea ever again.
Are they all named after women?
They are.
Hmm, interesting.
And there's a whole story of why Greg Glassman named him after girls. Um, and
I
it's
think someone needs to rename them after men.
I agree. We have hero workouts, which are men, and those are actual people.
Hmm.
But there's a whole story with Greg Glassman being kind of like excommunicated from the community. It's not savory, but the methodologies are great.
There's a
So
lot of that in the yoga world too.
mm,
Mm, yeah. I mean, all, all of these things
yeah,
have
for
that.
sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, going back into what we were saying, like with the 5 pillars, also getting into like connection. I think that is one way to really increase your vitality is social connections. We are designed to be social creatures. That's why, solitary confinement is never good for anyone,
Mm.
right? That's why it's a
Sleep
punishment.
deprivation and solitary confinement, like,
You can go crazy,
yeah.
and I think it's easy for me to not be social, especially after stopping alcohol, because I realize I use that for social anxiety.
Hmm.
But I understand the importance of it. And it's going back to the choice. I could choose to be a hermit and just stay in here, or I could choose to plan something with some friends. And I have Sunday dinners with 2 of my good friends who live down the hall every Sunday. And there are lots of Sundays where I want to cancel them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, don't, that would be too easy. Don't do that. And I always feel better afterwards. We go for a walk after dinner, we connect, we catch up. It's great. So really finding that time to make time for that is super important. Um, and my therapist actually told me, she's like, because I said, oh, my social battery just depletes so quickly now because I don't drink alcohol. She says, you do take on a lot of your clients' issues.
Yeah.
So your social battery is probably already burnt out from just doing what you do for work. So by the time you show up to a social event, you're already depleted.
Yeah, and I second that for sure.
Yeah.
I
So
I cuz I get that all the time. Like if people want to meet after I've had like 4 or 5 clients that day, I'm like, "Oh." So I it's why I keep my client days Tuesday through Friday
oh no, no, not me.
because I can't like it's almost impossible for me to do both in the same day. Like even yesterday, I didn't even have that many clients yesterday, but it was a busy day. And oh, because I had them all in the morning, and then I
Yeah.
watched my niece in the afternoon, and then we went for dinner with my sister and my niece and my nephew, and I was like, I just like I wasn't even talking, and then I was felt so guilty all morning this morning. I wasn't as attentive with my niece. She's 5. She's really chatty. She's excited, and I was just like tired and burnt out, and I hate
Yeah.
showing up like that.
Yeah. I, I'm working with my therapist on how do I kind of replenish that because I'm on call with my clients 24/7. So,
I can't do
so
that.
yeah. I mean, look, I've set that precedent. It is what it is. I feel like I'm in a better place now to take on those things, and I obviously going for walks, getting movement, focusing on sleep. These things all fill my cup, right? And more importantly, I have to also remind myself what I do for a living. I'm super grateful, right? I'm not chained to an office,
Hmm.
boss, uh, you know, 9 to 5, which is typically 8 to 6 for corporate America. I can kind of just have my own schedule, do what I want, and even though I'm on call. The trade-offs to me are totally worth it, right? Because I have control over everything. Um, but some days are more challenging than others.
Yeah. Yeah, the fitting in the me time. So there's community and connection, but then there's also like I think when we do the work that we do, I'm really aware now of when I need to absolutely disconnect and switch off and have no community and connection.
I, I, I escape into shows. I disassociate. I just want to be enveloped in a story, a plot, some type of thing. What has been fun for me lately is because Justin works for Epic Games to jump on Fortnite with some friends, and that's still being social, but I don't have to be in front of them, right? And
Hmm.
we're also just playing a game together, so that I found that to be actually quite fun. Um, so I do kind of make time for that when I can.
I know that I have touched on the wellness pillars in a few of my episodes, but I really wanted to drill it in because it is very much a back to basics thing. And when it comes to physical health and mental health, there is no quick fix. And I say it to clients like you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It's taken you that many years to get to the state that you're in. You need to allow time to come out of those states and to correct whatever your habits and lifestyle changes are that need to happen. There's no quick fix.
And I know we didn't dive too much into nutrition, but
Mm,
I think the
yeah.
power of real whole foods,
Whole Foods. Yeah.
yeah, is really it's again not sexy, but it's especially in this country, people are just over consuming sugar and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's a guy, oh, what is his name? Eddie Eddie something. He's British and
okay.
he's gained a lot of popularity in the UK and he's like what is this shit? And he goes in he goes into supermarkets and he like
Oh,
pulls stuff off the shelves.
look. So my only issue with people like that, because like Paul Saladino does that in the States,
Okay.
I never demonize food. I
Hmm.
think that is adding fuel to the fire. You know, so when with my clients we work on words labeling. I never use the word diet. I never use the word good, bad, healthy, or unhealthy.
Hmm.
So instead of diet, it's just a plan. The plan that we're on will change over time, right? Instead of good, bad, healthy, or unhealthy, it's on plan, off plan, favorable or unfavorable towards their
Yeah.
goals. By changing those things, because I never want to say sugar is bad. Sugar's bad. It's like, look, we understand the dangers of over consuming processed sugar. But if you are where you want to be and you have control over those new standards in your life, if you want to treat yourself, hell yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we need to get away from look at all this. This is shitty food, and like this is bad for you, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's clickbait, which is why he's popular.
Yeah.
But we really want to. I work on getting away from that type of culture because we should never demonize food.
Yeah, and making people, it's evoking shame, right? Which is like,
Well, like my whole thing with The Rock, which I despise, is his whole epic cheat meals, right?
okay.
I say to my clients, you should never be cheating on anything first and foremost. And they're like, but do you see Rock's cheat meal? I'm like, The Rock has a private chef. The Rock has a gym that travels with him all over the
Yeah,
world.
he's the rock.
He's The Rock. Like
Yeah.
he's 1%, right? Like you can't be doing what The Rock is doing, right? And more importantly, he's taking steroids. So like what? There's a whole different thing here, right? But I don't like the word cheat meal. It's a treat, and it's okay to treat yourself, right? But like I said, only once you are where you want to be and you have control over those standards, and
Yeah.
that takes so.
But yeah, with the food thing, I mean, I just because I have had a few clients that have been, well, quite a few that have like body image issues and stuff. And so with back to basics, I'm like, look, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not qualified to advise you on nutrition, but you really like
You can though.
well,
The
the
only
most
thing that you
basic
can't.
food advice that I've always been given
Yeah,
is just like you should eat food in its most naturally occurring form, right?
yes. The only
Processed.
difference between you and a dietitian or a nutritionist is that they can prescribe meal plans. But I'm going to tell you this: most of my friends that are dietitian nutritionists, it's not great. They control their weight loss, meaning a little bit. I'm going to control it, so they're going to be a paying client forever, and it's unethical in my opinion.
Ooh, that's
Yes,
I don't like that.
yes, and so that's the only issue. And more importantly, who's going to cook 3 recipes a day? Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So Huberman had one. He has this little bit that went viral. He's like, look, if you want to lose weight, real simple: eat high quality animal protein, fruits and vegetables, cut out the dairy, and just focus on sleep. You do those things, and again, you can get into fats and things, but just eat those foods. Eat real whole foods, right?
Hmm.
That are higher in glycemic index, that are high in fiber. You're going to lose weight. It's not rocket science, right? But again, people are so addicted to the hyperpalatable food because it's designed to do that, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you said, it's just perishable food. I don't mind if people buy frozen fruits and vegetables as long as the ingredients are just those vegetables. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I just like if it had. So the Eddie guy said if, and I felt like it was the easiest way of explaining it. If it has an ingredient list, it's probably not great for you. If it doesn't have an ingredient list, if it's
Yeah.
a chicken is just chicken, an
Yes.
apple is just apple.
But we live in the modern world, though, right? So I'm okay with ingredient lists as long
Yeah.
as those ingredient lists aren't a ton of preservatives or sucralose or dextrose or maltodextrin
Yeah,
and
or
like
chemicals that you like can't even pronounce.
yes, yeah. So like I'm okay with ingredient lists because again, to that's also going to the extreme. Oh, well, we need to eat things that don't have ingredient lists. That it is what it is. It's like, yeah, if you had the means to do that, the time, the mental bandwidth, sure, but 99% of people aren't going to live their lives like that.
Hmm.
And it's not sustainable. So what is sustainable? And it's trying to find people, meet them where they're at with regards to what they have access to, what their job schedules are like, home life. Then we can find things. And I literally like suggest a lot of things for my clients that might be a little processed. We minimally processed is still okay in my book,
Hmm.
but it's helping them be consistent with those things,
Yeah.
right? So there's a company called That's It. You can find them in Starbucks here. They're just fruit leather. And all it is the blueberry and the apple. It's one apple and like however 16 blueberries. That's all the ingredients that are in that. And I'm like, look, if you're on the go, you have some on-plan beef jerky, you have That's It, and you have some nuts. Look, that's fine for me,
Yeah, I
right? But
think my
people,
sister told me about that's it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's great. I'll have them on me too because it's, as we know, traveling can be kind of cumbersome and frustrating when it comes to what you have access to. But again, that's okay to me, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but I also help my clients pick foods out at fast food restaurants, and I'm also okay with that.
Hmm.
If you're going to go to In-N-Out Burger, just get some burger patties, lettuce wrap, yellow mustard, tomatoes, onions, pickles. That's it. No sauce, no bun, no cheese. It's actually still filling, right? Because
Oh,
really,
no, if I go to In-N-Out, I'm having In-N-Out. I get it like twice a year, okay?
well, they have it
That's
in
when I
Utah.
treat myself.
Yeah, they have it in Utah. So, but like still there, you can still eat out. You can still go to fast food restaurants. You're just gonna, the orders are just gonna be slightly different. So it's just like I said, it's meeting people where they're at and um, helping them see that there are options. Right?
Yeah. And yeah, definitely not villainizing food. I agree with that because shame is one of the biggest factors in human behavior and like what motivates people or doesn't motivate people to behave in certain ways. And I would like to see a disassociation of food and shame because I see so much of it, especially in my female clients, but in my male clients too. And it's messaging that we've gotten from so young. Like so many
Yeah,
people
it's
have
ingrained in
fucked
all
up
of us.
situations with food.
Yeah, and so I try
Yeah.
to explain to my clients like by keeping those labels alive, we continue to reinforce the fucked up relationships we have with food.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I'm glad that you're in a good place in Salt Lake, and we will continue to have check-ins.
yeah. Whenever you
Yeah.
want. And you're how long are you on the East Coast until you go to Colorado?
I'll be on the East Coast through September visiting
Okay.
family here, and then October I'm going to Colorado because my brother is getting married. So I'm not going to miss that. But then after his wedding, I will be heading back to Ireland. So,
Well, we'll catch up soon. But yeah, always appreciate chatting and really proud of you with the consistency
thank
with
you.
this podcast.
Yep, this is the 21st episode.
You're already in that top, what, 3%, 2%, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
someone did some podcast person emailed me the other day to tell me basically what you said that
Yeah.
most podcasts don't survive this long. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just going to keep it going. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, speak soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.